My parents forced us to be the stars of their family channel and made us fake having cancer for donations. I was 11 when my mom handed me a script and told me to memorize it by dinner. The paper had lines written out like a movie scene, things I was supposed to say to the camera about feeling tired all the time, about being scared, about wondering if I would get better. I asked her what this was for, and she said it was for our new family project. She said we were going to start making videos and that lots of families did this now. She said it would be fun and that I'd get to miss school sometimes for filming days. My little brother Marcus was 8 and he got his own script too. His had lines about being brave for his big sister, about praying every night that I would be okay. The first video went up 3 weeks later. Mom had taken me to get my hair cut really short. She said it would look better on camera. Dad set up ring lights in the living room and made me sit on the couch looking tired while Mom asked me questions about how I was feeling. I read my lines like she taught me. I talked about doctor visits that never happened, about treatments that didn't exist, about how scared I was but how my family gave me strength. Marcus sat next to me holding my hand, his eyes watering on command because Mom had practiced that with him for hours. The video got 50,000 views in the first week. The comments were filled with people saying they were praying for me, strangers sending love and support. Mom read them out loud at dinner with a smile I'd never seen before. The donation link went up after the third video. Mom said people wanted to help with my medical bills, that they wanted to contribute to my treatment fund. Within a month, we had a new car. Within 3 months, we'd moved to a bigger house. But here's where things started getting strange. Mom began pulling me out of school more often, but not for filming. She'd take me to different towns, sometimes 2 hours away, and have me wait in the car while she went into buildings I didn't recognize. When I asked what she was doing, she'd say it was grown-up stuff and to mind my own business. Dad started getting packages delivered to a P.O. box instead of our house, heavy boxes that he'd carry straight to the garage and lock inside. Marcus told me he tried to peek once and Dad screamed at him so loud the neighbors came outside. The videos kept coming. Every week, Mom would write new scripts about my fake condition getting worse, then better, then worse again. She coached me on how to look pale, how to move slowly, how to make my voice sound weak. She bought makeup that made dark circles under my eyes. The comments section became my whole world. Thousands of people checking in on me, sending virtual hugs, telling me I was an inspiration. Some of them sent gifts, stuffed animals and blankets and cards signed by entire classrooms of kids I'd never meet. I started having nightmares about getting actually sick, like somehow by pretending I was making it real. I told Mom I wanted to stop and she grabbed my arm so hard it left bruises. She said I didn't understand what was at stake, that I was being selfish, that everything good in our lives depended on me doing my part. Marcus changed too. He stopped playing with his friends and spent hours watching our videos on repeat, studying his own performance. He'd critique himself at dinner, saying he needed to cry more convincingly, that his timing was off. 6 months in, I noticed Mom was using different names. On the phone, she'd introduce herself as Linda or Patricia or Dawn. She had 3 different cell phones in her purse and I never knew which one would ring. Dad stopped going to work entirely, but money kept appearing. Then I found the folder on Mom's computer. She'd left it open one night while she was in the shower. There were spreadsheets tracking donation amounts from dozens of different platforms, not just ours. There were links to other channels, other families, other sick kids. The photos in the folder made me sick. Children I didn't recognize, all of them looking thin and tired and scared. Some of the faces had been edited, hair removed digitally, skin made paler, eyes made sadder. I scrolled down and found a messaging app open. Conversations between my mom and people I'd never heard of. They were discussing something called The Network, talking about rotating stories, about which illnesses generated the most sympathy, about how to avoid detection. One message said the inspection was coming and everyone needed to clean their digital footprint. Another mentioned moving operations to a different state. A third had an attachment I was too scared to open. I heard the shower turn off and quickly minimized everything, but my hands were shaking so bad I could barely move the mouse. I went to my room and lay in bed staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I'd seen. We weren't just a family faking illness for money. We were part of something much bigger, something organized, and my parents weren't running it. The next morning, a black SUV parked across the street from our house. It sat there for 3 hours. Mom noticed it too, and her face went completely white. She told us to stay away from the windows. She made 4 phone calls in 15 minutes, speaking in a voice I'd never heard her use. That night, she woke me and Marcus up at 2 a.m. and told us to pack 1 bag each. Only essentials. No electronics, no phones. We had 5 minutes. I asked where we were going, and she said somewhere safe. I asked safe from what? She looked at me with genuine fear in her eyes and said the people who ran the network had found out someone was talking to investigators, and they thought it was us. Because the rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. The car speeds through the darkness, headlights cutting through rain that started falling an hour after we left. Mom's knuckles are white on the steering wheel, her eyes constantly flicking to the rearview mirror. I'm in the back seat with Marcus, who finally fell asleep against the window, his face puffy from crying. I can't sleep. Every set of headlights behind us makes my heart race. Every black vehicle we pass makes me sink lower in my seat. I'm watching for those black SUVs, the ones that had been parked across from our house, the ones Mom is running from. Are they following us? I whisper, careful not to wake Marcus. Mom glances at me in the rearview mirror. I don't think so, but we can't be too careful. We've been driving for almost 4 hours. My watch says it's nearly 6 a.m., and the sky is starting to lighten at the edges. Mom pulls into a gas station, parks at the pump farthest from the building. Stay in the car with your brother. Lock the doors, she instructs, grabbing her purse. Don't talk to anyone. I watch her walk into the convenience store, then disappear into the bathroom. When she emerges 20 minutes later, I almost don't recognize her. Her long blonde hair is now short and brown, cut unevenly like she did it herself with dull scissors. She's wearing different clothes, a baggy sweatshirt and jeans I've never seen before. Back in the car, she tosses a plastic bag onto the passenger seat. We need to switch vehicles. There's a place about 30 minutes from here. Why did you cut your hair? Marcus asks, now awake and rubbing his eyes. We need to look different for a while, Mom says, her voice gentler than it's been all night. It's like playing dress up, but for grown-ups. The abandoned parking lot is behind an old shopping center. Two cars are waiting there, a rusty blue sedan and a man leaning against it. Dad. He looks terrible, like he hasn't slept in days. Quickly, he says, helping us transfer our bags to the blue car. The network has eyes everywhere. Traffic cameras, gas stations, ATMs. They're looking for your mom's car. What network? Marcus asks, but no one answers him. Dad hugs us both tightly, then pulls Mom aside. They speak in urgent whispers, Dad gesturing frantically while Mom nods. I strain to hear fragments. Christine talking. FBI involved. They know. Dad's phone rings and he answers it, walking a few paces away. When he returns, his face is ashen. They're tracking my phone. I have to go another way, he says. I'll meet you tomorrow with everything. The evidence. He kisses Mom quickly. Be careful. And then he's gone, driving away in Mom's car while we climb into the blue sedan. Mom, what's going on? I demand once we're back on the road. What is this network? Why are we running? She's quiet for so long, I think she won't answer. Finally, she sighs. The network. It's a group of people who find families like ours. Desperate families who need money. They approach you when you're at your lowest, when you've lost jobs, when you're about to lose your home. They offer a solution. Her voice catches. They teach you how to create stories that make people want to donate. You mean lie? I say flatly. She flinches but nods. Yes. They provide the scripts, the makeup, the filming equipment. They handle the donation platforms and distribution. And they take most of the money. But why would people do that? I ask. Because even the small amount they let you keep is more than you had before, she whispers. Because they convince you it's victimless, that insurance companies would charge the same anyway, that people want to feel good about helping. We drive in silence until we reach a small motel off the highway. Mom pays cash, using a name I've never heard before. The room smells like cigarettes and cheap cleaner, but it has 2 beds and thick curtains that block out the morning light. Marcus finally breaks down completely once we're inside, sobbing into a pillow. Why can't we go home? I want my room. I want my friends, he wails. I don't understand why we're running. I sit beside him, rubbing his back like Mom used to do for me when I was little. Marcus, remember the folder I showed you on my phone last week? The screenshots I took from Mom's computer? He nods, hiccuping through tears. Those people Mom and Dad were working with, they've been doing this for years. They've made millions from fake sick kids. Mom turns on the small TV, flipping channels until she finds a news station. There's a reporter standing outside a large office building, talking about a developing investigation into charity fraud. That's their headquarters, Mom says quietly. Someone named Christine started talking to the FBI last month. She worked in their accounting department. She has records of everything, all the families, all the donation accounts, and they think it was us? I ask, that we're the ones who talked? Mom nods. The leaders are paranoid. They've built this whole network on lies, and now it's falling apart. They're looking for someone to blame. Marcus has stopped crying, watching the TV with wide eyes. Are we in trouble? No, baby, Mom says, but I can tell she's lying. Dad's bringing evidence tomorrow that will help clear our names. He kept records of everything they made us do. I look at my mother, this stranger with chopped brown hair and fear in her eyes, and suddenly understand. My parents weren't masterminds. They were pawns, just like Marcus and me. Pawns in a game much bigger and more dangerous than I ever imagined. Get some sleep, Mom says, checking the locks on the door again. Tomorrow we figure out what to do next, but I can't sleep. I keep thinking about all those people who donated to my fake cancer treatment, all those kind messages from strangers who thought they were helping a sick child, all those families like ours, with children like me and Marcus telling the same lies. And somewhere out there, people in black SUVs are looking for us, determined to keep their network of lies from falling apart. Dad doesn't show up at the meeting spot. We've been sitting in this dusty parking lot behind an abandoned Walmart for 2 hours, the sun beating down on the blue sedan that feels more like an oven with each passing minute. Marcus has gone from excited to bored to worried, while Mom keeps checking her watch and dialing Dad's burner phones. One after another, they go straight to voicemail. Something's wrong, she whispers, more to herself than to us. Her newly chopped brown hair sticks to her forehead with sweat. He's never late, not for something this important. Maybe he got stuck in traffic, I suggest, not believing it myself. Mom shakes her head. No, he would have called. She tries another number, then slams the phone down on the dashboard when it doesn't connect. We need to move. We've been here too long already. We drive to a gas station with a small, attached convenience store. Mom tells us to wait in the car while she goes inside, but I notice her lingering by the small TV mounted near the register. Her face goes pale, and she practically runs back to the car. We need to find a place with a television. Now, 20 minutes later, we're sitting on the edge of a motel bed, staring at the small TV screen where my father's face fills the frame. The news ticker at the bottom reads, "Local man arrested in connection with nationwide charity fraud. Authorities took Robert Wilson into custody early this morning. Wilson is believed to be connected to a sophisticated network of fraudulent charities that have allegedly scammed donors out of millions by creating fake stories about sick children. The FBI has confirmed they are working with whistleblowers to identify other families involved in the scheme." Marcus starts crying, not understanding why Dad is on TV or why they're saying these terrible things about him. I put my arm around his shoulders, but I'm too shocked to offer any real comfort. They got to him before he could get to the evidence, Mom says, her voice hollow. She's pacing the small room, running her hands through her choppy hair. This is bad. This is really bad. Her burner phone chirps with a text message. message. When she reads it, all the color drains from her face. "We know where you are, Patricia. You can't hide the children forever. The network protects its own." Mom stares at the phone for exactly 3 seconds before smashing it against the wall, then stomping on the pieces. She grabs the other phones from her bag and destroys them too, one by one, until there's nothing but plastic shards and circuit boards scattered across the carpet. "Pack up, now." Her voice is different, harder, more frightened than I've ever heard it. "We're leaving." "But we just got here." Marcus protests weakly. "They found us," is all Mom says, and that's enough to get us moving. An hour later, we're checking into a different motel, this one even more run down than the last, with peeling wallpaper and a smell like old cigarettes and bleach. It's at least 50 miles farther from the city, down a forgotten highway with more abandoned buildings than open businesses. Mom pays cash again, using yet another name I've never heard. She buys 3 new burner phones from a truck stop across the street, activating only one for emergencies. Marcus has been quiet since we left the last motel, but as soon as the door closes behind us, he collapses onto the floor, breathing in short, panicked gasps. "I want to go home," he sobs, rocking back and forth. "I want my room and my toys and my friends. I don't want to run anymore." I kneel beside him, rubbing circles on his back the way Mom used to do for me. "I know, buddy. I know. Will we ever go back?" he asks between gasps. "Will things ever be normal again?" I look at Mom, who's checking the locks on the windows, but she doesn't answer. She doesn't know what to say any more than I do. While Mom tries to calm Marcus down, I notice her laptop sitting on the bed. She's been so careful with her phones, but in our rush, she left the computer unguarded. I open it, half expecting to find it password protected, but it boots straight to the desktop. There's a folder labeled Network Communications that I click on before I can think better of it. Inside are dozens of files, spreadsheets tracking donation amounts, scripts for videos, makeup tutorials for creating realistic-looking symptoms, and a strange application I've never seen before. I click on it, and a messaging platform opens up. The interface looks like any other chat app, but the usernames are all codes, not real names. I scroll through the messages, my stomach turning as I read. "Family 12 needs to rotate to leukemia next month. Family 7's cancer story is getting too much traction, scale back the posts. Remember to vary symptoms across platforms. YouTube audience is getting suspicious about identical stories. New family onboarding next week. Single mother, 2 children, ages 6 and 9. Financial situation dire. Perfect candidates." Mom finds me with the laptop just as I discover a folder with our family's designation, Family 15, and all our scripts, donation records, and scheduled illness progressions. "You shouldn't be looking at that," she says, but doesn't move to take the computer away. "Why did you do it?" I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. "Why did you and Dad join this network?" Mom sits heavily on the bed beside me. She looks 10 years older than she did yesterday. "We lost our jobs within 2 months of each other. The mortgage was 3 months behind. We were about to lose the house." She stares at her hands. "They approached your father first, at a bar where he was drowning his sorrows. Said they had a solution that could fix everything. By making me and Marcus pretend to be sick, it started small," she says. "Just one video, then another. The money started coming in, and it was so easy to justify. Just a few white lies, we told ourselves. Nobody was really getting hurt, except all the people who donated thinking they were helping sick kids," I point out. Mom nods. "By the time we realized how deep we were in, it was too late. The network had everything, our real identities, recordings of us admitting what we'd done. If we tried to leave, they'd expose us. Or worse." "What do you mean, worse?" "The people who run this network aren't just scammers," she says quietly. "They're dangerous. The money, it's millions, not thousands. They take 70% of everything raised. They have connections everywhere." I scroll through more messages and find a subfolder with Mom's name, her real name, not one of her aliases. Inside are drafts of emails to the FBI, screenshots of bank transfers, and a half-written statement detailing how the network operates. "You were going to turn them in," I whisper, looking up at her with new understanding. "That's why they're after us. You were trying to leave." Before she can answer, Marcus, who's been looking out the window, suddenly drops to the floor. "Mom," he hisses. "There's a black SUV in the parking lot." We rush to the window and peek through the curtains. Sure enough, a black Suburban is idling directly across from our room, 2 men in dark suits sitting inside. "Back door," Mom says, already grabbing our bags. "Now." We slip out the bathroom window into the alley behind the motel, hearing heavy footsteps approaching our door just as we drop to the ground. Mom leads us through a maze of back streets and alleys until we reach a bus station 3 blocks away. As we huddle in the shadows, waiting for the next bus to anywhere but here, I realize that running isn't just about escaping the network anymore. It's about surviving long enough to expose them before they silence us for good. I spot the black SUV first, pulling into the truck stop where we've been hiding in plain sight for the last hour. Mom is in the bathroom with Marcus, and I'm sitting alone at a sticky table near the window, watching raindrops race down the glass while picking at cold French fries. The men who step out aren't wearing the dark suits from the motel. Instead, they're in casual clothes, jeans, and windbreakers. But something about their purposeful movements sets off alarm bells in my head. I slide down in the booth, heart hammering against my ribs as they scan the dining area. One of them locks eyes with me, and I know instantly that running isn't an option anymore. "You must be Samantha," he says, sliding into the booth across from me. His partner remains standing, positioned to block the bathroom hallway. "I'm Agent Richardson, FBI." He slides a badge across the table. I stare at it, not touching it, remembering all the network's warnings about fake law enforcement. "We're not here to hurt you," he says, his voice low and steady. "We're here to protect your family. You're not in trouble." Mom emerges from the bathroom with Marcus, freezing when she sees the men. Her hand tightens around Marcus's shoulder, and I can see her calculating escape routes. "Patricia Wilson," Agent Richardson says, standing slowly. "Or should I say, Linda Mercer or Dawn Peterson, we have a lot to talk about. We're not going anywhere with you, Mom says, her voice shaking slightly. The network has people everywhere, in police departments, government offices. That's what they want you to believe, the second agent says. It keeps families like yours from seeking help. Marcus presses against Mom's side, eyes wide with fear. Are they going to take us to jail? No, buddy, Agent Richardson says, crouching down to Marcus's level. Your dad told us where to find you. Mom's expression hardens. Robert would never. He made a deal this morning, Richardson explains. In exchange for his testimony against the network leaders, we're offering your family protection. How do I know you're really FBI? Mom demands. How do I know the network didn't send you? Richardson nods like he expected this. Your husband mentioned you'd be suspicious. He said to tell you that the package in the blue box under the workbench was never part of the plan. Does that mean something to you? Mom's face changes, something like hope flickering across her features. Yes, she whispers. That was between us. There are 20 families involved in this scheme nationwide. Richardson continues. Your family isn't the first to try to escape, but you're the first with comprehensive digital evidence. The screenshots, I say, speaking for the first time. The ones I took from Mom's computer. Richardson nods. Along with your father's records of the money flow. The network leaders have been laundering donations through overseas accounts for years. What happens now? Mom asks, still not fully relaxed, but no longer looking for exits. You and your children will enter witness protection temporarily, the female agent explains. Your husband will join you once the paperwork is processed. The people who run the network, I ask, who are they? Richardson exchanges a glance with his partner. The Childlight Foundation. Their founders, the Braxtons, started as legitimate charity organizers 15 years ago. Somewhere along the way, they realized fake sick kids generated more donations than real ones. With less overhead, Mom adds bitterly, no actual medical expenses. Exactly, Richardson says. We need your testimony about how the donation distribution system works. Your husband is already cooperating. Marcus tugs on Mom's sleeve. Does this mean we can stop running? Mom kneels down, brushing his hair from his forehead. I think so, baby. 4 hours later, we're in an unmarked SUV crossing state lines. Marcus has fallen asleep against my shoulder, exhausted from the constant fear and movement. Mom sits beside us, staring out the window as unfamiliar landscape rushes by. The network has a compound outside city limits, Richardson explains from the front seat. That's where we believe the Braxtons are coordinating everything. Your family isn't the only one they're after. How many families tried to leave? I ask. 3 in the past year, his partner answers. 1 disappeared completely. The other 2 returned to the network after. Persuasion. I don't ask what kind of persuasion. I don't want to know. The safe house is a sprawling ranch-style home surrounded by tall trees and a security fence. Inside, the surprise isn't the armed guards or the security cameras, it's the other children. I recognize some of them immediately. The boy with the oxygen tank from the leukemia support group videos, the girl with the feeding tube who was supposedly battling a rare stomach disorder, the twins who took turns being sick so their parents could double their donations. Tyler, I whisper, spotting a thin boy sitting alone by the window. He looks up, his face gaunt and pale, but not from makeup this time. The irony is cruel. After years of faking cancer, Tyler actually has it now. Real chemo has thinned his hair, and the port in his chest isn't a prop anymore. Sam, he says, surprised. They got you too? We ran, I tell him, sitting beside him. Mom was trying to leave the network. Tyler nods. My parents too. After, he gestures to himself. After this became real. The doctors say if they'd caught it earlier. He trails off, and I don't need him to finish the thought. Over the next 2 days, I watch FBI agents interviewing families, collecting statements, building their case. They bring me a laptop and ask if I can identify network communications from digital evidence they've gathered. This is their main platform, I explain, pointing to the familiar interface. Each family has a code designation. We were family 15. And these spreadsheets? An agent asks. Donation tracking. The network takes 70% off the top, then distributes the rest, based on performance metrics, how many views, how many shares, how many people clicked the donation links. Mom spends hours in a conference room with Richardson and other agents, drawing diagrams of the network's structure, explaining how families were recruited and controlled. I overhear phrases like racketeering, wire fraud, and criminal conspiracy. At night, I lie awake in the unfamiliar bed, listening to Marcus's steady breathing from the twin bed next to mine. For the first time in days, he's sleeping peacefully, without nightmares or tears. Are we going to be okay? He asked me before falling asleep. I told him yes, because that's what big sisters are supposed to say. But the truth is more complicated. The network is still out there. Dad is still in custody. And somewhere, the Braxtons are realizing that their carefully constructed house of lies is about to come crashing down. On the 3rd day, Richardson brings news that Dad has been processed into witness protection and will join us soon. Mom cries with relief, and Marcus jumps around the room with excitement. The raid on the compound is scheduled for tomorrow morning, Richardson tells us. Thanks to the evidence you provided, we've identified all the key players. Will we have to testify? I ask. In court, I mean? Most likely, he says honestly, but we'll do everything we can to protect your identities. That night, I find Mom sitting alone on the back porch, staring at the stars. I'm sorry, she whispers when I sit beside her, for all of it, for making you and Marcus part of this. Why did you decide to leave? I ask. Was it because I found the folder? She shakes her head. It was before that. Tyler's diagnosis. It felt like punishment. Like the universe was saying, you faked this horrible thing. Now face the real version. I couldn't keep doing it after that. We sit in silence for a while, the weight of everything that's happened and everything still to come, settling between us. Do you think we'll ever have a normal life again? I ask. Mom Mom reaches for my hand, squeezing it gently. Not the same normal, but maybe a better one without lies. In the morning, we watch the news report of the FBI raid on the compound. The Braxtons are led away in handcuffs, along with a dozen associates. The reporters call it one of the largest charity fraud operations in U.S. history. Richardson arrives mid-afternoon with a tired smile. It's done, he says. We got them all. Marcus runs to the window. Is Dad coming now? Tomorrow, Richardson promises. And then we'll start figuring out your new lives. That night, as I help Marcus get ready for bed in our temporary home, surrounded by other families who were trapped in the same nightmare, I realize something important. The truth, however painful, is always better than the most comfortable lie. And maybe, just maybe, we can build something real from the wreckage of all these fake stories. The Dawn raid happens simultaneously across 7 states. I know this because Agent Richardson lets me watch the operation unfold on multiple screens in the command center. Mom and Marcus are still asleep in our rooms at the safe house, but I've been awake since 4 a.m., too wired to sleep. There, Richardson points to a screen showing thermal images of people being led from a sprawling compound. That's the Braxtons. 15 years of exploiting sick children, real and fake, ends today. I watch, mesmerized, as the architects of our family's nightmare are placed in handcuffs and loaded into vehicles with FBI emblazoned on the sides. It doesn't feel real yet that the people who forced us to run, who threatened us, who made my family into criminals, are finally facing consequences. How much money did they take? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. Richardson glances at me. Initial estimates put it at over $40 million, and that's just what we can trace directly. $40 million built on lies, on children like me and Marcus pretending to be dying, on families desperate enough to participate, on kind strangers who just wanted to help sick kids. Will we get in trouble? I ask the question that's been haunting me since we fled our home in the middle of the night. Mom and Dad, I mean, your parents made a deal, Richardson explains, his voice gentler than usual. In exchange for their testimony against the network leaders, they'll receive reduced sentences, most likely probation, community service, and restitution payments. So no jail? Your dad's being released today. That's why I woke you up early. I thought you might want to be prepared. My stomach flips at the thought of seeing Dad again. It's been less than a week since we fled our home, but it feels like years have passed. When Mom wakes up and hears the news, she bursts into tears, the first time I've seen her truly break down since this all began. Marcus doesn't fully understand what's happening, but he picks up on her emotion and wraps his small arms around her. When is Dad coming? He asks, eyes wide with hope. This afternoon, Richardson tells him. There's some paperwork to finish, then he'll be brought here. The hours crawl by. Mom paces the safe house, alternating between cleaning already spotless surfaces and staring out windows. Marcus draws pictures of our family, all 4 of us standing together in front of a house I don't recognize, smiling like nothing ever happened. I sit with Tyler, who's having a good day. His real chemo treatments have left him tired but optimistic. Do you think we'll ever be normal again? I ask him. He shrugs. What's normal? Before all this, my normal was pretending to be sick. Now my normal is actually being sick. He manages a wry smile. But at least it's real. When Dad finally arrives, the reunion is both beautiful and awkward. Marcus runs to him, launching himself into Dad's arms like a missile. Mom hangs back, tears streaming down her face, until Dad reaches for her with his free arm and pulls her in. I stay where I am, watching from across the room, unsure of what I feel. Dad looks different, thinner, with dark circles under his eyes and a weariness that wasn't there before. When he finally meets my gaze, I see shame there. Sam, he says, his voice breaking, I'm so sorry. And just like that, the dam breaks. I'm running to him, sobbing against his chest like I'm Marcus's age again. He holds me tight, whispering apologies into my hair while Mom rubs circles on my back. We were wrong, Dad says later, when we're all sitting together in the safe house's small living room. So wrong to involve you and Marcus in this. We thought we were protecting our family, but we were destroying it instead. Are we going to jail? Marcus asks, his small voice piercing the moment. No, buddy, Dad assures him, but things will be different. We'll have new names, a new home, a new start. Will I still be me? Marcus's brow furrows with the weight of this question. Mom pulls him onto her lap. You'll always be you, just with a different name on the outside. 6 months later, we're living in a small town I'd never heard of before, in a modest house with a yard for Marcus to play in. Dad works at the local hardware store, a job he says gives him more satisfaction than anything he's done before. Mom volunteers at the Children's Hospital 2 towns over, helping families navigate the maze of insurance forms and medical bills. I testified at the trial of the network leaders, hidden behind a screen to protect my identity. I listened as the prosecutor described how the Braxtons and their associates had manipulated desperate families, coached children to fake symptoms, and siphoned millions from kind-hearted donors. When the verdict came back guilty on all counts, with sentences of 25 years each, I felt a weight lift that I hadn't realized I was carrying. Marcus has made real friends here, kids who like him for who he is, not for a performance of sickness and bravery. He's learning to express real emotions instead of the ones Mom used to coach him on for videos. Sometimes I still catch him rehearsing facial expressions in the mirror, a habit that may take years to break. As for me, I'm applying to colleges, interested in cybersecurity and digital forensics. Agent Richardson says I have a natural talent for it after helping identify network communications from the digital evidence. I like the idea of protecting people from online scams and fraud, using what I learned from our family's mistakes to do something good. One night, I find Dad in the living room, staring at his laptop. I glimpse what he's looking at before he closes it, one of our old videos, the one where I'm supposed to be getting my diagnosis. My hair is cut short, dark circles carefully applied under my eyes, my voice trained to sound weak and frightened. I was just, he starts, then stops. stops. I need to remember what we did, so I never do anything like it again. I sit beside him. I've been thinking about donating to Street Jude's, I say. Every month, a little bit of my allowance. For kids who are actually sick. Dad's eyes fill with tears. That's a wonderful idea, Sam. We sit in silence for a moment, the weight of our past hanging between us. Do you think we're good people who did a bad thing? Or bad people trying to be good now? I ask, the question that's been haunting me. Dad considers this carefully. I think we're people who lost our way and are trying to find it again, and that has to count for something. Later that night, I find Marcus in his room, arranging his action figures in elaborate scenes. These guys are the heroes, he explains, pointing to a group on his bedside table. They're protecting these other guys from the bad guys. Who are the bad guys? I ask. He points to a single figure he's placed face down in his toy box, the ones who make people pretend. I sit on the edge of his bed, watching him play just being a normal 8-year-old boy, not a character in someone else's script, not a tool for extracting donations, just Marcus. Are we safe now? He asks suddenly, looking up at me with those big eyes that used to convince thousands of strangers to open their wallets. Yes, I tell him, and for the first time since this all began, I believe it's true. We're safe now. The network is dismantled. The leaders are in prison. The money has been recovered and is being returned to donors where possible, or redirected to legitimate children's charities where it's not. And our family, damaged but healing, guilty but forgiven, is learning what it means to live without lies, to be sick sometimes and healthy others, to struggle financially without resorting to fraud, to be normal, whatever that means. It's not perfect, it's not easy, but it's real. And after everything we've been through, real feels like the greatest gift we could ask for.